Well, I already told you the little Sailor Moon story, but I got into anime because I was at school one day, and a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but like a few kids were like in the library reading manga and stuff, and I was like, those kids usually get made fun of, but I wonder if what they're reading is actually kind of cool or something. So like I picked one up. I think it was Moon Phase that I picked up, and I like kind of flipped through it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, I guess. So like I went home, and like after the whole Sailor Moon phase I went through, I like watched Moon Phase, and I was like, okay guys, I have a confession to tell you. I like anime, and all my friends were like, what? You can't like anime, you're one of us. And I was like, no, pew, I like anime. And I think that's a huge stereotype when they say anime is just for nerds, because I'm not a nerd. I'm in Pep Squad, and I dance, and I don't know, I guess a lot of people say I'm pretty, and a lot of people say that anime fans shouldn't be pretty. But I don't know, I guess I broke the stereotype or something. I feel so bad talking about this, because it's such a huge stereotype I hate. Like, people are all like, anime people are nerds, and some people at school call me a nerd for it, and I'm like, no, because I'm not all weeaboo or otaku all over it. I just like to watch it and voice act. I don't know, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go on to the next question.
Really, for anime, it was Toonami, and gaming, it was playing the Super Nintendo with my mom, and then, you know, friends and all that with the Xbox and the PS2. Eventually got one myself. Just it started from there, really.
When I left Mexico, I've already forgotten most of my English, so when I turned on the television, guess what was on? Anime! I'm not really a big gamer, but I do watch my little brother play a lot. I find a lot about games mostly from him.
I think I might have answered this a little bit in the other questions, but more in depth, I guess. I got into anime via Dragon Balls. Actually, no, I've got a better answer. Alright, how did I get into anime? Well, I watched Dragon Ball Z, and I was convinced it was like a lot of other people claim, that Dragon Ball Z is the best anime of all time. It doesn't matter what else is out there, nothing can possibly beat Dragon Ball Z. And some of my friends at school who are into anime, like, oh Adam, you don't know what you're talking about. You should check out Fullmetal Alchemist and Bleach and Naruto and da 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 da. And to my surprise, when I watched Naruto, Fullmetal Alchemist and Bleach, I thought they were all way better than Dragon Ball Z in the end, just because the storylines are better, I think. But yeah, I got into anime because of my friends, really. Just got me into some real good series. Fullmetal Alchemist. Then from there I just went on to finding my own stuff. Got into Hunter x Hunter after a while. And Death Note I found by myself. I was just in the shop for Death Note. Anyway, I don't think that's really important. But yeah, I got into it by my friends pretty much. Got me into it. Gaming. Final Fantasy. I've already said Final Fantasy got me into games. I love the Final Fantasy series. But I played quite a lot of other games like Tekken and the Tony Hawk's games are really good. Tomb Raider's probably, yeah, my top two franchise for games have got to be Final Fantasy and Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider's so underrated as well. I don't know why like nobody ever talks about Tomb Raider that much. Like the adventures for the early games anyway, like up to Tomb Raider 4, are really really good.
Gaming at least has always been around for me because just my mom and my dad and all their friends used to play Super Nintendo and the N64. So I thought, hey, I'd try that out, and I absolutely loved it. So that's what I've been doing for a long time now, even though my gaming kick has kind of been not like it used to be. So I'm normally just an RPGer now than anything else. I'll be playing MMOs on my computer, like Grand Fantasia, Eden Eternal. I tried World of Warcraft, but I didn't like it, so nah. For all of you that think World of Warcraft is the only MMO out there for you, it really isn't. I'm sorry, Full Metal Chow, I just don't agree. But, for anime anyway, I guess I've always liked it, but I really got into it when I was around 8 years old, 10, when the Naruto dub came around. But, you know, after they got to ship it in, I kind of just trailed off from it and found a whole bunch of other animes that I didn't even know existed, and I fell in love with those. So, yeah.
How did I get into anime and video games? It was simple enough. I just watched people play video games, and when I tried it, I loved it, ever since I was a midget. Anime? Oh, well, as I mentioned earlier, it took me a little while to get into it, but it's something which I never look back on, and really, it was easy to get into. I mean, how could you not get into Dragon Ball Z or Cowboy Bebop? And then the big guns, how could you not get into the works of Studio Ghibli? You're a monster if you don't. That's all I'll say.
Now, as to what got me into the anime industry, you see, as I've said before, I used to watch from the one half when I was bored. My dad was a big fan of Neo Genesis Evangelion. And after that, those two shows are really shows that kind of just inspired me to, you know, want about anime. And then, of course, I found Digimon, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Beyblade, Card Captor, Sailor Moon, and a wealth of other shows, you know, growing up and etc. And I just kind of expanded from there and became a big, you know, really huge, avid anime manga fan and nerd in general.
I probably got into it from Adam playing games and watching anime, really. Well, obviously, gaming, we would have, you know, just everyone has some kind of console nowadays. But with anime, it was Adam watching it, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And, yeah, because it's really cool.
I got into animation and gaming just, you know, like how most kids did, from word to mouth. You hear your friends talking about all the latest games and the animes that come out, and you're just sort of curious to see how they are. So the next thing you know, you're buying a console or a few animations, you're watching, you're playing, next thing you know, you're sort of hooked onto it, and that's pretty much what happened to me.
Well, it all started off in 7th grade when my one friend Taylor was like, oh my god, you need to watch a show called Fruits Basket. And I'm like, alright. I watched it, fell in love with anime. Damn.
I got into anime from when I was in middle school. This dude, he came up to me, he was all like, oh dude, you should read this comic. I was like, okay. He gave me this Rurouni Kenshin book. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, I don't know how to read this shit. This shit is backwards. I started reading it, and I was all like, oh snap, this is pretty cool. And then I started reading Dragon Ball. And then I started reading Dragon Ball Z. And then I started getting into Dragon Ball Z, and then, and this was about the time when, in my middle school, Dragon Ball Z pictures in color were like the shit. Like, people would have pictures, folders full of Dragon Ball Z colors, and they would be trading them and stuff, and I'd be like, damn, this is better than Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm joking. Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out, like, when I was in, like, 7th or 8th grade, I think. I don't even know. Anyway. How I got into gaming, man? Damn. I got into gaming, when I got my PS2. PS1. When I got my PS1, I got that Tekken, Twisted Metal game. I started playing video games like there was no tomorrow.
How did I get into it? Well, I was a really good goalkeeper. I was like an A grade style keeper, and I injured my knee badly to the point that I've had 3 or 4 operations on it, and can't keep anymore. So I had nothing left. When friend Jacob, MySweetCiel, introduced me into the anime world, and I loved it. I can't stop watching it. It's the best thing in a while.
Well, actually, as far as gaming and anime and stuff goes, I was actually introduced to it by my big sister, Mukise's Moshi, because she was a big Pokemon fan. So we sort of watched it and collected WAPs and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys know what WAPs are, but they're pretty good. And I was shown Sailor Moon by my next door neighbor, and she just sort of got me into it one day, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I did, and then she just kept introducing me to stuff, and then I started finding stuff on my own, and it just went forward from there.
Well, I kind of got into anime just by stumbling upon it on the TV. I remember when I was really, really little and couldn't really grasp the concept of spellings of things and whatnot. I kept calling it anime, and so that took me a little while to get out of, but then I heard somebody say it in real life. So it's tougher to say how I got into anime. Gaming, basically, you could just say I was in the crib with a controller, so it was very easy to get into gaming. It was in our house when I was born, pretty much, and I've been loving video games ever since.
I got into anime because one morning I woke up at like 10 minutes to 5, and this is AM, not PM. I don't sleep that late. I wish I could though, but there was this. I turned on my TV, and there was this cool show on. It was cool, but I couldn't find the name because I didn't have a guide at the time, and so it just looked cool. So I spent the day looking for it, and it was an anime. So I just started watching it from there.
How did I get to anime and gaming? It all started when I was 4 years old. My grandma got me a Nintendo 64, and my very first game I played was Super Mario 64. After that, I started watching Pokemon, and then I went on to Yu-Gi-Oh! And then after that, that went into so many other different directions. I started watching Bleach, I started watching Rurouni Kenshin, I started watching Samurai Champloo, so many of these different anime.
Well, for the gaming part, I got into it from my brother. He is the big video game player in our house, so whenever he is playing like Legend of Zelda or Mario or I don't really like the first person shooters like Halo or stuff like that. But I got my gaming sprouting from him. I used to watch him play like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the TV until he kicked us out because we did a little bit too much backseat gaming for him. That went on for a good few months until he allowed us back in again. But the anime I got into from Sailor Moon is when I really started to get into this wonderful culture of anime.
That's a good question. How did I get into it? I suppose it was just something that took my interest. It was something to get away from the reality that is the world itself. I used it kind of as an escape. And I just had fun with it. It was something I enjoyed immensely.
My mother actually bought me my very first console when I was 12 years old. That is what got me into the gaming industry.